and do this all over again. Okay, now we're live. Let me go through the whole thing again. All right, that was my bad. Hold on. Let me go through the jingle.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. uprntalkradio.com.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Hey, good evening. Finally got it right. All right, we go into the comments there first. Okay. Hey, Gary, good to see you, buddy. How was my week? Oh, wow. Okay. Welcome everybody to Into the Night on UPRN Talk Radio 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi, and good evening to you, Gary. How was my week? Well, I don't know. It was pretty cool. I did a little change up in my wake up. I started doing things that kind of like help me, get my day going and and then when I settle down before I go to bed. So yeah, everything's going on pretty good. I hope everybody had a good week. Um, our guest tonight will be whenever he can get in. Joe Monteldo. He is the UPRN talk radio owner, and he's also UFO investigator and an alien investigator too. But so I don't know. There's a lot of new things that came up tonight, and well, first of all, Tara won't be on tonight because she's sick, so she won't be able to make it. So it'll just be me. Uh, and we'll see where how it goes. We'll see how things go. But my week, it, it was there. This weather's kind of crazy tonight. It really, really was. It's hot and it's cold. It's hot and it's humid and it's hot. And I really believe, because I was watching the news tonight before I came on. Trish has her own show, Gary. Yeah, she comes on right after me. Trish has her own show, so the missing piece. So check after my show. Check her show out. Hey, Mandy, good to see you. Um, Welcome to the show, and I appreciate you coming on. So, just like I had a friend of mine came up to me, or she gave me a call the other night. Really bad news. Okay, she was diagnosed with CRPS. That is a complex regional pain syndrome, and also was diagnosed with RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And what everybody, what everything, what that's all about is that she's in constant pain all the time. Okay. And the only way that they could actually treat this illness is through pain relief. Um, hey, Anthony, good to see you, buddy. Welcome to the show. Um, And the only way to treat this thing is through pain management. Um, and then as I posted it on my Facebook page, she I found out that a couple of other of my friends have the same disease as her. So um, it, it it's really damaging because you know what? These people, there he is. Oh, my friend Joe's on. Okay, but a little bit more. But be with you in a minute, Joe. But with the pain, and they're good people. And all of a sudden, I mean, my friend Sue, she had her hand operated on, and then the ligaments and the tendons, and that's where it all started. It happens with trauma, surgery, broken spring, bones, nerve damage, and so the definition really for the both of them is characterized by severe burning pain affecting extremities, arm, foot, etc. So their color is the orange. It's the awareness color. And November is their awareness month. But as you can tell, I have orange at the bottom of my screen here. And I'm going to start doing that because my friends are very, very good people. And we need the help. We need to find something. There is no cure. So I'm just bringing it out today. And I'm sure as the weeks go on, I'll bring up a little bit more of it. But if you want to, just Google CRPS/RSD. So let's make that awareness. So my guest tonight, Joe, he took me under his wing, and he showed me the ropes to podcasting, networking, talking, all that stuff. And I owe my career with the man, him and Jenny. And I just with all this alien UFO stuff coming up, up in Congress, and Joe's been in the business for a very long time. I would like to hear his take on what's going on with what happened up in Congress. Without further ado, I would like you to welcome Joe Monteldo. Hey, Joe, good to see you.
I know speaking no English. No English. No English. No English. No English. I only speak alien. That's it. Alien. I know, not illegal alien, asshole. Alien.
Alien, huh?
That's right.
Hey,
so
Brian,
what you been up to since I ain't been producing? What you been doing? Getting in trouble, chasing women? What? Something good?
No, not at all. I'm just have been a little busy bee.
Hey, Anthony. There's nothing wrong with chasing women when you're single. Look, trust me, when I was single, I chasing bitches. Well, actually, I didn't do much chasing. They did the chasing, but still, it was still the same thing.
Dude, no way, man. I have no time for women, man. I have no time for them.
Do you know, in my entire life, I never asked one woman out on a date, not one time.
Congratulations.
I dated a lot. A lot.
I'm telling you what.
Because dude. I was shy, people. I was a good-looking guy, but I was shy. I was like, don't touch me, bitch. I don't know who you are. I don't know where that coochie's been. It could be alien coochie as far as I know. I'm just teasing. Y'all write to. Be sure y'all write to Shawn. Oh no, wait. Be sure you write to Michelle DeRoche and said Shawn was allowing this coochie guy on his show.
Yeah, Michelle's like my manager, so I'm lucky I didn't bring her on tonight to really have.
Don't mention it was Joe though. Okay, just say hey. He had some coochie guy on his show. That's all you gotta say. Yeah.
So a couple questions before we get into the topic. Michael's not on, Tom. Oh, Michael. Hi, Michael. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, wow. Good to see you, pal. Oh, okay.
Evil people from the other world. I'm sorry, what?
But why don't you explain people how you got into podcasting and how long you've been doing
that? I met this guy in Hong Kong, China. He owned Pioneer Radio. I choked him, threw him in a lake, and I took over. I wanted a true story. I was giving you Yeah. I'll give y'all the fake story, but that's the true story. I threw him from a 54-story building, by the way. Boy, when he smacked
Okay.
the water, it was a biatch. Actually, no, I was. I had gotten involved with MUFON. I had this weird thing. People always want to, still even today, people just walk up and tell me their whole freaking life story. If they were contacted, they just start telling. These people know me from Bean. Just tell me about aliens and aliens taking them and shit. And I'm looking at them like, I'm like 21, 22 at this time. I'm going, really? Aliens are taking you. You're kind of scary looking. I don't know why a freaking alien wants you. But they did. They were always telling me when I took over for supervisor. Well, I'm sorry, for training manager for Easy Serve. It was constant. Anytime I was in a store, checking on managers, I'd just be standing there minding my own business. I might just come up, start. Not just me. They did to my wife. Tell me it would just be nonstop. Let me tell you about this thing. Again, they don't know me from Bean. I could be somebody wanting to use their store. It was just weird, and it still happens today. I was with a customer the other day, and he's telling me about this weird shit he's seen in Florida. I'm like, really? I said, there's a place to report that, right? It's called Peter Davenport's. Go to Peter Davenport's site and report that. He said, "What about that MUFON?" I said, "No, not MUFON. Don't go to MUFON. Go to Peter Davenport."
Why is that, Joe? Why not MUFON?
Because MUFON's just fun. I mean, it's not real. It's not. They have in their 46 years, I think it's been now. They haven't really contributed anything to the field. They haven't changed the field. They haven't got any better. When you ask them what their final conclusions are, it's a joke. That there might be some type of alien craft. Now we got the government saying there is, and we still got MUFON saying might be. I don't know. And then they have other issues like anything that you would turn in would disappear, which was irritating. That a black hole of Calcutta is what they are. But still, even today, their membership is growing. But what are they contributing? Ladies and gentlemen, have y'all heard MUFON doing anything? Well, they made Hangar 1 where they made some money. Well, no, their board gets paid. Don't ever believe that bullshit. Oh, no, their board gets paid. It's a 501(c)(3). All 501(c)(3) boards get paid. Yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing nefarious or illegal. It's just, well, you figure it out. They pay it's $55 a month now. I think they've got 5,500 members. You do the math. It's a nice chunk of money every month. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They might even have more members than that now. I don't know. I haven't checked recently. But the point is what are they giving back? Some TV show with some old ancient shit that we've all seen 50, 60, 70 times that we could really give a good crap about. Really. What is it that they're saying? Okay, this is proof or we believe that alien abductions are real. They wouldn't even get into alien abduction until I forced their asses into it. I literally had to force their ass into it. That's when they made their star team because ICAR had become so popular amongst the ufologists because of what we were doing. Then MUFON decided, maybe we should start. And let me explain something. Now, MUFON was anti-abduction until we came along, until we started getting on radio and talking about this. It was so bad that Palola Harris was on my show one night, and I ambushed her. I didn't really ambush. I just told her I wanted to talk about alien abduction. She would not speak to me for a year after that. I seen her in Roswell, and I gave her a big hug, and then we became friends again. But she wouldn't speak to me for a whole year. She was anti-alien abduction. Now you notice she does the STAR conference, and she's all alien abduction now. So for her, I don't know, 20, 30 years she was anti, even though she was working with one of the biggest abduction believers in the field, which was I can't think of his name. He was the professor. Damn, his name went right out of my head. But none of these people wanted to talk about this. So it took until like 2000, maybe 2005, before the field would even start talking about this. See, their thing was that alien abduction and stuff like that did damage to the field, did harm to the field, and no one would take it serious. Okay. Well, my biggest problem is chasing lights in the sky is never going to get to the truth. Oh, well, what if we catch a UFO? Well, y'all said we caught a UFO in Roswell. Did it get us any truth? No. Are we any closer to the truth now, 70 years later? No. We've been witnessing lights in the sky, for thousands of years. Are we any closer to the truth? No. And why is that? Because you're not going to get to the truth chasing lights. It's got freaking half the time they're ours anyway. And the other ones aren't going to tell you. You have to have some type of contact, or some, and even the government knows dick crap, excuse my language, people. But they don't know twit anyway. Why do you think they're asking all of us? If you think of it this way, if the government really knew the truth, do you think Congress would be petitioning us to find the truth? No, they would petition the military people inside the agencies to say, okay, they would be like the CIA, FBI, SS, NSA, things like that. But that's not what they're doing. They're asking us. That's because they don't know. Shit. Congress didn't even know they shut down 2 different silo bases in our country and 1 in Russia. I mean,
Really?
Jesus, where has our country been in? I mean, it just makes it hard on me. But anyway, that's part of the reason the station got around, because I used to have to wait to be invited to go speak places. Oh, let's go speak at a conference. Well, I go to a conference, there might be 200, 400 people. I might meet a total of 500 people for the whole conference. I mean, that's fun. I mean, it's fun meeting all the people and hanging out with them, but it's not really pushing any distance. I've been on Coast to Coast 4 times, so that's different, and that helped a little bit, but Coast has only got X amount of reach. Ancient Aliens, even they get X amount of reach. It's just, and you got to wait to be invited. So you might get on Coast once or twice a year. You might get on Ancient Aliens once or twice a year, or once every other year, or something like that. So that's not it, man. I needed something that was putting out fresh information daily. And still at that point, we hadn't come up with nothing. And then Jeffrey from where was he at? The station was out of Riverside, Iowa, 1690 Riverside, Iowa is where it was. It was an AM station in Riverside. He calls me up one day. He said, "I want you to come host for me." I went, "Sure, dude." I was kind of rude to him, actually. And then he called us up in one of the support groups online, because we had a couple of support groups online, one big one. And I come in and he said, "That's the reason I want to hire you. I've been listening to you in the support group, and I think you'd make a great host." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And then finally, one of my directors got mad at me. He said, "You need to talk to him." Actually, my national director, DeAndrew, says, "You need to talk to him." And so I'm like, "All right." So I sat down and talked with him. I said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." My very, very, very first show, I got in an argument with the guest. Very first show. Should have took it as a sign right then and there.
Okay, I have a question from Michael. Says, so then a question for the guests: how can we be more productive?
Well, that means you got to get involved. You got to do valid, strong research that you can back up, and you have to have a way to put it out to the general public. And again, anybody can write to Coast and get on Coast. I mean, if you get 100 or more people to write to Coast, they'll bring you on, guaranteed. If Stephanie or Lisa Lyon get 100 pieces of email, they'll bring you on their show, because at least that many guests want to hear you. But that's going to be the one shot. Now, if you're really, 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 really good, they might bring you back. Or if you got a new book out, they might bring you back. But ufology is only as good as your last thing. It's like any other form of entertainment. See, that's what's happened to ufology. It's only good as your last thing. So whatever your last sighting was, or your last case was, or your last invention was, or whatever it may be, you're only as good as that. Once that phases out in 8 months, a year, 2 years, that's it. Nobody's even paying attention to you anymore. So, and it can't be something boring, because they're not going to pay attention to you. So you really have to get out there and do hardcore research. You have to do the kind of research that's going to make people open their eyes and say, "What the hell was that? Who was that? What was that? How can we get involved in that?" And that's how ICOR was born, because we needed people who wanted to get to the truth.
And we still want people to get to the truth.
We do.
So.
But some people have more truth than others these days. And somebody asked me all the time, "Why don't you speak more? Why don't you speak more?" I said, "Why? I mean, I could pretty much speak every day if I wanted to, or at least a couple times a week. But what is it going to really, if I honestly thought, if I honestly thought that it would make a serious difference, I would just go ahead, because I've already been asked to speak in front of Congress. So I would just go ahead and do it. But I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. Mm-hmm. Now, I probably will be subpoenaed to speak behind closed doors. I'm pretty sure it's already happened, to be honest with you. And so I will speak to them, and they will hear things, because I sent them a list of questions. They will hear things that they haven't heard from anybody else, which fascinates them. But is it going to change anything? Is Congress going to get off its ass and do anything? No, it's not.
What about the whistleblower?
What about him?
All that fake thing they had about that guy coming in.
Yeah, I know the 14-year-old, the guy who was in the Secret Service for 14 years. What about him?
Well, I'm just
Is he
saying, what,
really a whistleblower? Is he not a plant? Is he really a whistleblower? Did he say anything that's going to change the field or change Congress's mind? I mean, what? I've been listening. I mean, has he said anything that would make? And a lot of his answers are always the same thing: behind closed doors, which is stuff we're never going to hear. Like almost any testimony I would give you, I will never get to hear. So, is it going to make any real difference to the general public? No, it's not. This is, you want to know what this is about? This is about Trump. This is what this is about. So they figured all these lawsuits would keep the media on Trump and stop talking about Biden, but it wasn't enough. They keep going after Biden. There's all this media coming up about Biden Hunter. So what do? We'll get UFOs, and people will look at UFOs. And now you got UFOs and Trump in the news daily, every day, and it's still not enough to keep people off of them, because unfortunately for them, people find that more interesting. It's a tough thing, because getting to the truth in this is really in the skiff. Exactly, Michael. So Deneen, I actually offered to be polygraphed the entire test. Yes, I have no problem with it at all. I offered them, and I offered them 100 questions that are much better than anything that's been asked so far. So the first thing I would have asked Mr. Whistle Koresh is, I would have said, you said you came forward and you said you never have been paid for a gig. I went, lie number one. I said, so why should I trust you? You've already lied once. I said, now there's at least 3 other times that you lied. So why would I trust anything to cut? And you work for who? The most lying organization in the world. So you have to earn my trust. And so far, you haven't earned my trust. You lied about being on major television shows. You lied about taking money from these major teleshows. You lied about getting print made and making money off the print. I mean, right off the bat, flag. Okay, this is Stephen Greer. Flag. So ask me this. If you were a successful doctor with a successful career, why would you leave it to get in ufology? Very few people make money in ufology. There's some that make it, but very few. Well, he's one of them. He charges, I think, the last time I had heard, somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000 to go have a spiritual retreat with ET out on some beach somewhere. He got in trouble for it once. And then he charges for any time he speaks anywhere. He charges for all this stuff. He charges for all of this. So he's not motivated by aliens. He's motivated by money. And obviously, he thought he could make more money in ufology than he could in the medical profession, which kind of scares me. I'm wondering what kind of doctor he really was. Janine, you can find this on any of the Facebook pages if you want to get into this chat box. Yeah, any of our station Facebook pages. I see y'all's messages over there, but I mean, you can get into it. And so now you've got the president. Has he said anything about aliens?
No, not at all. I haven't heard nothing from him.
And he don't care. He's off in La La Land somewhere. Trump had an interest in it because that's why he created Space Force. The Clintons,
wasn't Space Force already there before Trump came in?
Not before Trump. No, Trump created Space Force. This is what went on. The Air Force has its own space program. The Navy has its own space program. Of course, the government has NASA, which is its own space program. Well, that wasn't good enough for Trump. Trump wanted them to be tied together in case they're needed for the defense of outer space, which is what Ronald Reagan said we needed to do. So Ronald Reagan on 7 occasions gave speeches on what would happen if there was an alien invasion and how it would unite our planet. More so than that, he created Star Wars, which was supposed to be able to shoot down Russian missiles. This thing could wipe out cities. This freaking laser so big. I was watching them shoot these silver panels. They were about 70 feet wide by 30 feet tall, and they would put the laser underneath it, and it had vents on it, and they'd heat it up and shoot it into space. They were trying to see if it could be used for a new transport into space. These lasers are way too big to shoot down missiles, and they could shoot down missiles, but that's not what they're designed for. They also instituted Pine Gap, which is the British American defense of outer space. I don't know how many of y'all understand what outer space is, but it ain't the moon, people. It's further than that. So what the hell? And then he created Pine Cap. I mean, not Pine Gap, the HARP facility, which is punching holes all over in our ionosphere. So right now, the HARP facility can shoot a thing up into the satellite, shoot it back down to Pine Cap. Pine Cap can superheat it and shoot it back at whatever it's shooting at. They're building some type of defense system. It's a communication and defense system. And Reagan put this in plan. So George Bush told Ronald Reagan that aliens were visiting this planet and they may or may not be friendly. And Ronald Reagan said, what the bleep, 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 bleep. We're going to do something about this. And he's the only president that did because, unfortunately for him, Bill Clinton didn't know. They would not tell Clinton. So poor Clinton. Here's President Clinton. He's pulling big names. I mean, he's the Hefners. I mean, he's pulling people out with major money and major names and major connections to get to the truth because the government won't tell him. And he's the president of freaking United States. So finally he gets pissed. I think it's his 6th year in. He calls Area 51. He says, I'm coming down. I want to know bleep, 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 what's going on. And Area 51 said, you will be arrested on sight. This is the guy who runs the entire freaking world. And they told him he would be arrested on sight.
Wow.
I would have went down there with my whole military and said, you're going to show me what the is going on here, or I'm going to wipe this whole damn area out. But their argument is because he's not a lifer and he's only there for 8 years, he does not need to know these secrets. And it's always been their thing. When I was in the service, and I got my class 10 security clearance, one of the first things they asked me, if you plan on being a lifer, this will be with you your entire life and help you in many, 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 many ways, and will open doors for you that other things won't. And they're right. Not just in the military, but in regular life, it's open doors as well. When I go out for interviews with certain types of companies and I say I got a class 10 security clearance and they verify it, they're like, oh shit, we'd like you to come work for us. Even though it doesn't mean anything, so Daddy Bush knew, and Daddy Bush told Baby Bush. So Daddy Bush was head of the CIA. Then he was vice president for 8 years, and then he was president for 4 years. So he has more knowledge about extraterrestrials than anybody did.
Who, Daddy Bush?
Daddy Bush. For some reason, and no one knows for sure. So there's been a lot of rumors that there's something in the Middle East that we've all been looking for. Not just us, the Russians and people living in the Middle East. Everybody's been looking. Some people say it's a gate. Some people say it's the Ark of the Covenant. Anyway, there's lots of different things, some type of really, 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 really advanced technologies there, and we want it. So, we started the war, the first war, Desert Storm, which was made me a fantasy, and which I'm not a fan of anymore. But anyway, we went over there, was kicking ass. We accidentally bombed it, killed 2 of those evil children, and then we wanted to stop the war. So, some reason, somebody blew up the Twin Towers. So we decided, okay, we can go back. At that point, I'm pretty sure Daddy Bush went to Baby Bush and said, look, we're looking for this. Be sure that this is how this goes. And we stayed over there for 20 years after that, looking, digging, playing, looking,
never
digging,
found.
playing.
Well, Michael says Gilgamesh.
It could have been Gilgamesh too. And also, what's the one they got the finger of the saint? Is that him? They were talking about him too. So there's some saint they said gives you immortality they were looking for as well. I mean, it could be a combination of things. I'm not going to rule out that we might not have found some stuff over there. It's never, with this country, it's never what it seems to be. So I would take UFOs straightforward. That's what I think it should be, a straightforward thing. But it's not. Just, look at Congress. It's like when they pass a bill and they want to add all this bullshit into the bill. It has nothing to do with the bill itself. They just want to add stuff in that doesn't belong there because, that's how they can fight about getting the bill passed. Well, we'll back you as long as you pass this, this, and this.
Michael goes, we're talking about him. I've actually talked to 2 military retrieval people who claim that they did find technology.
So I got a question for you, Michael. If the United States lost an F-35 in China, do you think we'd let China keep the F-35? Or the pilots, for that matter? Do you think we'd let them keep them?
No, I don't think.
So these aliens are far more advanced than us and do not have to let us keep anything. They can take anything that we've retrieved back. So why would they let us keep anything? See, that's the question I've put to many of my friends in technology and government that cannot actually answer that question. Now, I'm not beyond the fact that ET might let us keep something from time to time. And according to Bob the alien, the one that was at Area 51 chose to stay, because you have to remember they can beam themselves out. There's a mothership in orbit around one of the giant planets, so they could just pull themselves out. They don't have to even stay here if they don't want to. And there's nothing our government can stop. I mean, they come in, take stuff all the time, do stuff all the time, knock missiles out of the sky. I mean, and it comes right down to it. We don't have the technology to stop them. That's what some people believe. But I don't believe that. I've never seen any proof that we have any kind of agreement with them. And any agreement made with Eisenhower would not bind any president today. And we know that, with the exception of Ronald Reagan and George Bush, none of the other presidents knew. Obama didn't know. Trump wanted to know, but he didn't know. And you go all the way back. Kennedy didn't know. He wanted to know, but he didn't know.
Clifford Stone.
So you got to go way, 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 way back. And really and truly, there may be, out of all the presidents we had, maybe 4 presidents know this is real. Maybe 4 presidents know this is real. So when you get into those kind of things, you have to stop and wonder, was there a deal? And let me ask this, and more importantly, what do we have to offer them in return? And remember, there's not just one type of race visiting this planet. So I doubt we had agreements with any of them or all of them. Maybe we got lucky and got hold of one, but the Greys wouldn't want to do a deal with us. It'd be a waste of their time. The humans think we're distant trash cousins as far as they're concerned. The reptilians do consider us family, but their government's nothing like ours, and nor do they want it to be like ours. My point is we have nothing to offer them in return. Nothing. So why would you possibly want to make friends with them? None of the races that visit this planet consider us to be highly sentient. They consider us to be about as sentient as an ant, which, by the way, is sentient, but they don't consider us to be on their equals by any shape, form, or fashion. They just don't think we're there. We're not even close, really. So again, what is it that they'd want from us? Our planet, maybe. But why? They don't want our DNA. Why would they want our DNA? Our DNA is inferior compared to theirs. You know, it's always used to be the thing, and this is a problem for humans, and this is a real problem for humans, always having to put ourselves first. So if you're a gray alien, you come to this planet, they might want to enhance our DNA with theirs, but they don't want our DNA anywhere around them. That would just be like a downgrade for them. Same thing for the humans and the reptilians. Their brains are the reptilians and humans' brains are 2 or 3 times the size of ours. The Greys are probably 7 or 8 times the size of ours. So again, it would be a down thing. Well, okay. So I'll tell you exactly. I'll bring you through the whole thing. This will be fun. So somewhere in the distant past, now this is an argument, and I'm not going to get into the argument of this. So, and I'm agreeing with you, Jenny. So somewhere in the past, anywhere from 40,000 to 200,000 years ago, a group of human-type aliens came to this planet. They moved on this planet, and the Sumerians talk about this. Sumerians say they could not breathe the atmosphere of this planet, so they built these 2 white great dome cities outside of where Sumeria was. And from there, they ruled the entire area, because the Egyptians and them weren't around at the time. Or they were, but they weren't to the Sumerian standards yet. So you get into all of this by saying, here we go. We create a race. So they did the dog head. They did the eagle head. They did a couple of different races, but none of them could perform like they needed. So the next thing was a full-out human race. Now, this human race was sentient, but not sentient like we're sentient. What I mean by that is they didn't ask why they had to plow the field. They didn't ask why they had to listen. They didn't ask anything. They just did what they were told. They made mead. They procreated. That's all they did. They were basically a slave race. So the Dogon come in and talk about the Numos, the reptilians. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't know this, every person on this planet has a reptilian section in their brain. Every person. So the Numos come in and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. We were here first. We used to be on this planet 60 million years ago until we got the thing made us leave. Now we're back and we don't want you on our planet. So then they decided, well, we're gonna make it hard on the human type aliens, and they interbred with us. Okay, they started having children with us. So the Sumerians used to say that the children were different. So the first time I ever heard this story is I thought they meant the children looked differently. After research, I found that the children acted differently. In other words, they said, you plow the field. You go make the meat. Screw you. There's way more of us than there is of you. And at that time, somewhere after that time, there was I wouldn't call it a revolution as much as it was just, there was so many and they just kind of faded out. There was no way to really control them without wiping them out. And the reptilians weren't going to let the human aliens wipe us out. So that's why the Greys were sent, because they started thinking, the council started thinking, if we don't do something, the reptilians and humans are going to get into it over this stupid race that they created, meaning us. So they sent the damn Greys along to be peacekeepers. And Greys have always been peacekeepers. That's what their job is. That's what their assignment is for the entire council, for the whole entire galaxy for that matter. That's what they do. That's why all of them, when a Grey is sitting there, even a little Grey this tall, is sitting there and a reptilian human walk in, they look away from the Grey because the Grey is dangerous and scary, and they know it. We're too stupid to know how dangerous they are because we're looking at a little 3-foot Grey, whatever. We don't realize what their abilities are. But the reptilians and humans know what their abilities are. So they show way more respect than we do, which is fine. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about. So as this race progressed and the reptilians bred more and more with the children, and the children started breeding back to the families, you had this new race. You had us, the new race that dominates the planet today. That's what you had. You had us. Part human alien, part reptilian, and whatever they used to make us. Some people say it was a monkey. Some people say it was something else. Some people said it was a combination of their DNA and some other DNA that created us. That's anybody's argument. And I'm not going to argue with it because I don't know. I wasn't there. All I know is they created us. They created a race like us, and then the reptilians created us. So now, we all have a reptilian section. No, people want to argue with me about this. I win more money over this, by the way. I was just in L.A. These two guys, they're lawyers, by the way. We don't get no reptilian. I said, dude, $500. And she said, I'll take that. I said, you both said? I said, hold on. I just flipped. I said, Siri, do we have a reptilian section in our brain? All of a sudden you hear, yes, we do. And she starts talking about these two guys like to crap themselves. Of course, I didn't make them pay me, but I mean, still.
Michael wants to know if Galactic Federation, do you believe that is fact?
Okay, see, I do agree there's some kind of federation because, first off, I hear way too many contactees arguments. I mean, there's too many contactees under regression or under hypnosis that come up with this thing. My biggest problem always with it has been like 11. It's always an odd number, which I understand why it's an odd number. So there's an outvote. But it's like 11 or 13, 19. Now, this is what I hear from most contactees, that it's on a water world about half the size of Jupiter. That when you're in the council, that there's a bunch of aliens just sitting there. There's a council table with how many ever are there, and then there's the seats that go up. So if anybody's ever seen Star Wars, and you've ever seen the new Star Wars where Yoda's fighting the guy and he's in the council, that's what it looks like. Except in the very middle is a big bubble that comes down into it like a drip, and it's full of water, whatever aliens that live in water. But from that they're talking about over 100 million types of aliens there. The city itself is the size of our freaking planet. So this is what people forget. Humans are, if you want to be nice, we're 2 million years old. If you want to be truthful, we're probably much younger than that. But for these guys, I mean, the Greys are probably 1 billion plus. The reptilians and humans probably well in the 700, 800 million range. Can you imagine us in 800 million years? Can you imagine what we'll be?
I don't know, bud.
So that's the point. And we can't imagine it. And how are we going to imagine what an alien race is? How do we even talk to them on a level playing field? It's impossible. We will not understand 99.9% of what they're talking about. It's beyond our brain's about this big. It's not even that. It's about this big. The alien and reptilian's brain is about this big, and the Grey's brain is about this big. I mean, it's just, and plus they're designed differently than ours. They have different sexors, different pads. That's how you know they're empathic and telepathic, because those parts of their brain are active where ours are not. In case you haven't noticed, the dolphin actually has a bigger brain than we do and has more senses than we do.
Mm-hmm.
People tell me all the time, well, they're not as smart as we are. Really?
Oh, bullshit.
So think of it this way. They inhabit the majority of the planet. We don't. We're stuck on land, or not even 1/3, or not quite, about 28% of the planet we live on. And we don't even live on that. That's the land mass is 28%. We only live on about 12% of that. The dolphins live in 70% of the water on the ocean. They don't just live in oceans. They live in lakes and rivers. They're everywhere. And
Well, Joe, let me run this question by you real quick. Since we've been having a relationship with aliens and humans, right? Wouldn't they come up with a way of talking and understanding each other?
the aliens know each other fine. They all talk to each other. They have no
No,
problem
not
talking.
the aliens and the humans.
They do. So this is where people get confused. The three species that are allowed to do work here, there's about 7 species here, but the 3 species that are allowed to do work here have already made contact with everybody they want to make contact with. That's why when people tell me, well, we need to make contact, we have made contact. The aliens are not interested in Joe Biden. They're not interested in the rest. They're not interested in Vladimir Putin because they're not in the family line of abductions. They're not through the original Sumerians and the original reptilians way back, how many ever thousands of years it was, because those are the family lines they abduct in. Because because nobody else on the planet really has the abilities yet. So if you go, here you go, people. I know it's going to aggravate y'all, but go to any mall or any mall or any store, anywhere you want. Bring a box of cards with you, and something you can cover them with, or something you can flip over, or get some dark cards. I usually get the long ones, colored cards. So you sit down at a table and put up a sign, testing paranormal abilities. Okay. And this is an easy test. This isn't even a complicated test. I mean, we got some much more complicated ones than this, but this is an easy one. So you sit down, somebody comes and sits down. They say, okay, I'm even going to tell you it's a red and green card. Which one's on the right? Do you know over 88% of people get it wrong more than 70% of the time? Figure that out. So when you flip a coin, you should get it right 50-50, right? That's not true. Most time when humans flip a coin, they get it right about 30% of the time, and they miss it to 70% of the time. This means you have no abilities. You're not even developing the abilities. They're just not there. It's not, and I try to get this across to people. You're only going to find empathic abilities and telepathic abilities amongst abductees. If you have a strong ability, then you're a contactee or an abductee. You might not know you are, because 98% of people don't know they are, but you are. It's just one of those things, because you're not going to find them amongst the regular population. And as far as whoever just sent me that thing about telekinesis, people tell me all the time, we got telekinesis. Prove it to me. I'm telling you now, if America had telekinesis, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin would be dead. They would have had aneurysms that exploded in their brain, and they would be dead. You know how easy it is for someone with telekinesis just to squeeze a vein down till it stops? It's not even effort. But the problem is, no one on the planet really, and no one's been able to collect Randy's $1 million yet, because there's no one good enough to go do it. For some reason, that's going to be a more latent ability than the other two. As far as empaths and telepaths, there's some pretty damn good ones on the planet. But for some reason, for telekinesis, it's a rare ability. I'm not saying they're not going to develop over time. They probably will. But telekinesis is the ability to shut your door by thought, to lift your kid up by thought, to move things by thought, to stir by thought, to do anything by thought for that matter, to hover yourself across a room by thought. That's telekinesis. Telepathy is Bruce, you're talking about not telepathy, remote viewing. Yes, it has a place, just like all of it has a place. But remote viewing is not as good as telepathy. That's why the U.S. Air Force and Navy dropped the remote viewing programs for telepathy programs. Yes, Edgermain I can't say his name now. Anyway, he was retired colonel. He was a colonel in the Army. He was retired a few years back. It was about 20 years ago. The military decided to drop the remote viewing program. Edgar Dames, I think is what his name was. We had met several times. And they decided that they needed telepathy, because remote viewers are good. So you give remote viewer a target. If it's a good group, they'll find a target. Like, let's say they find a cruise missile, or let's say they find a Trident nuclear missile sitting on a stand somewhere. Okay, they found it, but what can they do with it? Nothing. But what can a telepath do? That's a whole different thing. A telepath can actually see through whoever the commander is eyes. They can read the codes. They can send you the codes. You could transmit the codes and destroy the damn thing on the pad. It's a different type of technology. They can find it just like a remote viewer does, and they can get much more information than a remote viewer does. I got friends that are really good remote viewers. Just unfortunately in this, telepath is better than remote viewing. Empaths are different. Empaths are Empaths share and send emotions. Empaths can cause pain through emotion.
Yeah,
They can cause laughter through emotion. There's a lot of things empaths can do.
that
Empaths can
that
help you to heal.
not all the time though. Sometimes, now I'm an empath. I'll be the first one to admit it. And to be honest with you, Joe, I I consider it a curse. You know,
Well, it is if
because
you don't know how to deal with it. It is a curse.
it is a
So
curse.
one of the things we teach people, because you're not a contactee if you're not an empath, or we don't think you are. And most people in the beginning have no idea they have the ability, so they'll walk in the room, they'll burst into tears, or they'll burst into laugh, and they can't figure out why. Or they'll walk into a room and everybody else in the room bursts out crying or in laughter, because it's an emotion that you're either picking up or sending. And you can change the way people, you can affect the way people are around you, and they can affect you if you're not sure what it is. I mean, it's easy for them to mess with your mind, because if you don't know you're sharing someone else's emotions, it can do serious damage to you. What we got up here?
One
Well,
can go ahead.
no, good, no. I was just thinking through it. Uh, okay, in a way, I agree with that, because some of the places we look for contactees is in people who do magic. So if you're a practicing witch or something, odds are you are a contactee, because contactees, all right, most of them will start out in Christian religions or Muslim religions first. They're looking for answers. Then after that, they'll move into like the Wiccan religions, or they'll move into some of the other, like the Crowley religions or something. They might even get into the dark arts because they're looking for answers. So for me, magic is tools. So when you make a wand or when you make a spell, you're making a tool so you can use your ability. Oh no, I don't believe in magic like y'all think. I believe it comes from us, not from out of the atmosphere or nature. I believe it actually physically comes from us. Um, because that's what you're doing. It allows you to access your abilities. That's just what it is. And the more you do it, and the better you train yourself. So ritual magic is really good for training your mind and training yourself on things. The problem with ritual magic is it can get you in a bind, because you can only go so far with it. And if you run across somebody like me, by the time you've done your ritual, I've already got you screaming for your mama. So I'm just being honest about it. It's in the old days we used to do interference for friends and customers and contactees who were being tormented by other people who had better abilities. Because you can dream weave people. You can get in their dreams. You can screw with all kinds of stuff. And if you're good, you can do all kinds of damage or all kinds of fun. It just depends on the individual. It's I mean, there are some really good telepaths. And I mean, most of the time when the government is when the mill labs are putting you under, they use sodium mannitol, sodium pentothal, and they usually use a hypnosis who's a telepath. And it works really well, and it's much easier to control you.
Oh wow. Okay, now real quick question for my people out there and my listeners. What are some of the signs that you know that you're a contactee or you're an abductee, or you know what I mean?
Oh, your name's Michael Anthony first. That's one of the first things. Okay, I'm sorry.
He's.
I was just helping out, man. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, what are some of the signs that people might think that they're a contactee or an abductee?
Well, you can go over to icar1.com. There's a big old list of this stuff over there because there's lots of things. But
what is it? icar?
icar1.com. So one, if you are empathic or telepathic, or you've having these dreams that you're dreaming about stuff like alien visitation or things like that, or you always know who's on the phone when they call, you know who's knocking at the door when they're knocking, you know what your friend's about to say out of their big fat mouths, you know what your spouse is thinking or talking about. These are all sure signs, but it's way more than that. If you have an interest in the paranormal, or into witchcraft, or into any of the dark arts, any of the arts for that matter, you like to look at dragons, you really have a thing about paranormal fantasy all the way around, it's a good chance you're taken. Also, if you're RH negative, it's a 70% chance that you're a contactee.
All right, what is that? What's RH negative?
RH negative is just what the majority of contactees today possess, happens to be RH negative. It's still 30% of the population is O negative. I mean, it's not O negative. Is Rh positive. So let's look at this real quick. If you look at the breakdown of blood in our country, Rh negative is only 15%, but amongst contactees, it's 70%. So it shows that the aliens do have a particular type that they prefer. More reasons why is because they're probably using that to breed back into our population. So if you look it up for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, Rh negative have different tendencies to Rh positive. They look at the world slightly different. They're slightly different in the way they think. There tends to be quite a few of them that have above average IQs. They definitely almost the majority I'm thinking in abstract. Also, there's other weird stuff like O negative is the universal donor. So anybody in the world can take it.
I'm O negative.
Yes. And then, no, it is. And it's worse than that, though. Almost all of our hematological research comes from O negative because it's the purest form of blood known to man by far. So, and I know people always tell me, oh, AB and AB and AB and positive and negative are the rarest. True, but not true. Because AB, negative and positive, can guess what? Take O negative. So they're not the rarest because that with the 7% of O negative and their 1.2%, that's 8.5%. So no, they're not the rarest. Rh negative is the rarest. They can only take their own blood. They can only take blood from the same donor. So an Rh negative person cannot, there's no universal donor for him or her. He can only get that blood from another Rh factor person. So it limits to what they can get to. They're only 7% of the world's population. Plus their blood is being used all around the world as a universal donor. So the plasma is being changed in it. So it can't even be used back in an Rh negative person. So yes, it's a very strange thing. And wait, what's even more better about that is for 2 million years, we didn't have it. So on this planet, for 2 million years, it was only Rh positive. So when you look back 2 million years, this is what we look like. We're brown hair, brown skin, and Rh positive blood. That was us. That was our species. We're a very boring ass species. Somewhere along the line, about 40,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago, they must have sent the Greys down here, and they must have infused their blood because when we got Rh negative, we also got blue and green eyes. So they're all three mutations. No, they don't. As far as they know, there was no blue or green eyes before Rh negative blood. Yeah, all three are mutations. The blue's a mutation. The green's a mutation. Actually, no, green is rarer than blue. Yeah, it's. I think together and with the blue and green and some of the offshoots of them, they're about 12%. But I think the green eyes themselves are somewhere around 3 or 4%. It's rare.
Well, with my eyes, okay, it's really weird with mine because my eyes are hazel, but honest to God, when I'm in like paranormal investigating mode, spiritual mode, they turn really, really blue, dude. Okay, and then
That's your ghost eyes, man. You got your ghost eyes.
I don't know what the hell they are. They're wolf eyes. I call them wolf eyes, and they're creepy looking. And then when the hormones kick up, then I got green eyes. No lie, they're like emerald green. So.
Well, from my friends and from my wife, the more I drink, the greener my eyes get.
I don't drink.
I'm just saying, but I don't really much, but still, in the old days, I did. You'd see me with
me being O negative, and my eyes are green and blue. And
did you know this? Rh negative people have a much higher tolerance for alcohol. So the percentage of alcoholics are higher because it takes more for them to get drunk.
Yeah.
It's no, I'm serious, people. For some reason, they just have a much higher tolerance for alcohol. Well, the more you drink, the more you get used to it, the more likely you are to fall into the trap. Almost everybody I know was an alcoholic one time or another in their life, especially down here where I live. It's almost like a rite of passage in New Orleans. What do you mean? When I was young, I drank a lot. Usually 2/5 a night. Well, we had a crowd over, but we played darts usually but usually about 2/5 a night. And then on the weekends, we drank far more than that. And we used to shoot darts for shots on the weekdays, and on the weekends, we would go drinking. So we lived in a place called Fat City, which is right smack in about 40 clubs. So we just walked down the street. Nobody would drive, and everybody'd go drink and drink and drink and drink. I don't drink beer, man. Beer does absolutely nothing for me. The only time you'll see me drinking a beer is if we're out canoeing a pirogue or something like that. You'll see me have a beer in my hand. But if we're drinking the drink, oh no, if we're drinking White Russian, whiskey sour,
Oh,
Jack and
come on.
Coke,
Come on. Really?
you know, and something.
Mincers? Come on.
Wow, man,
You're
no, I
supposed to
like
be
my stuff.
doing bourbon
Oh
straight
no,
with water, dude.
no, I don't
Come
put
on.
no water in nothing. I ain't
No,
drinking.
I mean,
You trying to kill me, old nasty ass water. That shit, no telling what kind of water's in these bar rooms around here. This shit might make you toxic or something. Oh my god. What was my favorite? Was a Jack and Coke with a shot of Jack on the side.
mine was,
Uh,
mine was straight up tequila.
which I drink shots all the time because I love shots, but I had to give up Jack. No, not because I was an alcoholic at the time, because Jack gave me a really, 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 really bad temper. Oh yeah, you could do something like I'd deck your ass right there.
Oh, yeah. I've been there,
Could.
dude.
Now, White Russians, you can ask my wife. I say this makes me giddy as a Catholic schoolgirl getting laid the first time. I mean, I just get like giddy, man. Oh, it's stupid. I get so giddy. I'll mess with anybody. I'll be walking behind people say, "Oh no, it's a bad scene."
I can actually see that. So your whole theory or your whole purpose of this whistleblower to the government was just a plant? Just
Well, so let's look at this for a minute. So we got 2 Navy pilots. I believe everything that came out the Navy pilots' face. By the way, I think they were telling the absolute truth of what happened. I don't think they were lying to us, but that's exactly what they did. They talked about their experience, and that was it. Now, Crush was different. He was alluding to a lot of things. So here we got 2 problems right off the bat. They contradicted each other in this last hearing. So he says they've shot down aircraft. I would pay all the money I have to watch someone shoot down an alien aircraft. I don't think they can do it. I would love to see it. I think that's absolute bullshit. And then he said every time they would shoot something down, they would collect their bodies. So wait, it gets worse than that. So he's going on with all this BS. So the pilot comes up and says, the guy said, "Could you shoot him down?" He said, "Man, what do you mean shoot him down? There's no way." He said, "We have nothing that travels that fast." He said, "Our jets or our missiles can't even get close to him." And he said they were talking about one incident where the guy was going to hit the button on the missile. By the time he reached for the button, the damn thing was 150 miles away. Absolutely means there's no way to shoot him down. We don't have the technology to shoot him down. Besides that, anything that can cross through cosmic space at high speeds where there's micrometeorites is going to have some kind of hull and shielding that can't be affected by them, or every one of their crafts would be dead. So, and it's another thing, you're not going to see a UFO break up on impact. You're going to see them when they hit the ground, they would be in one piece. There's only ever 2 pictures of those. There's 2 pictures of those. One in Russia where there was one impacted on an angle, and one in the United States where it was impacted on an angle. Both gentlemen said a craft came by and took them, retrieved them. Now there's one in Shag Harbor that crashed in Shag Harbor, went down in the water, and the Navy was there. They had 2 submarines there. They had a Canadian submarine there. There's all kind of stuff. Little UFO come underwater, put this blue light beam all around the other one, took it off a little ways, and they both went up into the air and left.
Oh,
it
wow.
shows you right there that they're not going to let us keep the materials.
Okay.
That's just not going to. And you can't blame them. Would you? I mean, do you want to give the human race something that can travel faster than light and blow up whole planets? No, we don't want no one having that kind of technology.
No. But you figure that we actually came up with that technology. I would think.
Well, we're so far. We don't have the planet to blow up the planet. We have the technology to wipe off humans off the planet, but we don't have the technology to blow up the planet. Remember this, ladies and gents. I always tell people this all the time. Oh, we got to save the planet. No. We got to save us. The planet ain't going nowhere. You can nuke every stupid human on this planet, and in 10,000 years, the planet will be right back where it was. No ifs, ands, or buts. Overdone with, too bad, too sad. We're just gone. And wait, we wouldn't even be the first extinction. We'd be the 6th. Just saying, guys. Mother Earth's going to be here for a long time. We're the ones that's got to worry. So Elon Musk is planning on taking a nice-sized colony to Mars. Jeff Bezos is now talking about also taking a colony to Mars within the next 5 years. So I don't know how, and they may get together and start Bezos Amazon on Mars or some shit. I have no idea, but it worries me. It worries me that we have 2 billionaires trying to get off the planet so badly. Maybe they know something that's coming. I
Okay,
mean,
Jenny. I'm sorry. Jenny
yeah.
said the human race is over. What do you
It
think?
could be. It could be. I've heard many people in the last few weeks saying, 2026, 2028. Linda was just saying the other day, 2028. So it might be. But contactees, you don't have to worry. You're not over. Just the stupid humans are. Yeah, so they'll
the what?
retrieve y'all. Just the stupid humans. They'll retrieve the contactees. That's what the Holocaust dreams are about. When the humans start talking about the Holocaust dreams, the contactees that have them, that's the first thing that goes on is the aliens come retrieve their contactees from the planet. So y'all don't have to worry about it. And you'll get enhanced powers and better bodies. So all y'all going to be much better off. It's just the other 7.8 billion that are going to melt, burn, or something in between. I don't know, Jenny. I've heard so many things. So the very first time I heard this, they were talking about some kind of burning of the planet, where I would think rapture would fit in for that. But then recently, the contactees are talking about, or the Holocaust people are talking about something a little different. It sounds more like a pandemic, like COVID was just a warm up for what's really coming. And it kind of even feels like that at the moment. So they're saying, because they're talking about going into cities, there's no peoples there. There's cars there. The street lights are working, but they don't see people anywhere. When they walk up to the windows, though, the windows address them like, hello, Jenny. How are you? Would you like to buy some nylon stockings today? Whatever your last purchase was, they talk to you about. So this is AI technology, which is something we were planning on doing a couple of years ago, but the government said no. Well, because what happens if the last thing you bought was a condom or something worse than that? And you're with all your friends standing in front of a shop in front of 500 people, and it says something really bad like, oh, did you enjoy whatever porn you were watching the other day? It just didn't sound like a good idea. So anyway, but they describe, and in the cities, they found big areas where they were bulldozing and burying bodies by the thousands. They talked about a couple of bodies that went a little crazy. They sounded almost like the living dead almost. Actually, and then there was little military places set up where the contactees could be put into this blue plasma to rejuvenate them and regenerate them. It also seems like certain people in the government, because they've had contact with the contactees and have taken their blood, have gotten the cure, because the contactees seem to be immune to it. And they talk about some people, very few will be left here. All the rest will be taken off world. And we're not talking about most of the humans will be killed. Whether it's in a flame of rapture, whether it's a D's, they're going to die. Not everybody is, but they're going to. Denise, you're a messenger. It's if you go by, so about 33% of the contactees have the Holocaust dream, and they give such great details that it's hard to think it's anything but what it is. Oh, I believe it's coming. When, I don't know. I don't care to put a date on it, because some days I feel like it's tomorrow, and some days I feel like I'll be gone. But it could be anywhere between now and then. I do think, though, it's moving a lot faster than it was, because I know if you're a regular listener of mine, I've talked about this desensitization program many times. We're the ones that created it. So the desensitization program is somewhere back in the 20s and 30s, the government decided that we needed to desensitize the population to extraterrestrials. So way back about 200 years ago, we started seeing an uptick in science fiction books, a lot of them, like Jules Verne's and all that. We started seeing more and more and more. Getting into the movie system, we started seeing even more bigger productions of aliens. Today, I mean, in 2023, all you got to do is look at DC or Marvel, and it's just alien everywhere.
Yeah.
So we got used to that, and then we started seeing aliens in our Doritos bags, aliens on our keychain, aliens on this. So that was the first thing I said was going to happen. The second thing I said was going to happen is that they would find water on Mars to suggest there was life, which they just did, by the way. They just found water on Mars. It's looking like they're going to find some type of microbiological life. They're thinking they might even find something like mold or spores or something like that growing, something more advanced. So then they're going to find life. And I said that. And then somewhere they'll find what looks to be either out on Titan or Io or on Mars, they're going to find some type of life. Might be a mouse, might be a rat, I don't know, it could be anything, but it will be alive. And we'll be like, wow, life on another planet. And then somewhere, whether it's here on Earth or Mars or the moon or somewhere, they're going to find some type of alien something, artifact, the best word. Maybe an old temple. And they think they've already found one on Mars. There's a big argument right now because of them 2 doors they found cut in the holes on Mars and some other stuff they found on Mars. They think they've already found an alien artifact on Mars. But until someone goes for sure, NASA's not going to tell us.
Why not, Joe? Why not?
Because we're not to the point where they need to yet. Then eventually that will come out. They'll say, you know what? Oh my God. Because it's going to shock the world. We need to absorb the fact that there's life out there first. So, give us a little while. Let us find some life somewhere, not human type life, but some type of life. Let us absorb the fact. Because what is it? Io or Toten, they think there might be whales living on that one that's ice with the water. Because one of the probe pictures when it landed, there was something. So this probe's landing, it's cutting into the ice, right? And you can see that there's liquid underneath it. You see something just big, man, go right under it and just arc over, just like a whale would do. Whatever it was huge. Even NASA freaked out about it, but no one. And then they started saying, "Oh, it was probably some type of, rock. Rock. Really, I didn't know rocks floated. There's no trees there. What the hell are you talking about?" So they were trying to come up with excuses, but more and more they leaned to, because they've already found a couple of rocks from Mars that suggested there was life there, plentiful. So now they're gonna come up and say, "Okay, well, we found this life." And then somewhere after that, might be a year, might be a week, might be 10 years, I don't know, they're going to announce that they found an alien artifact. That's what they're going to do, and they're going to show it on TV. And at that point, we're all going to realize that we're not alone, but we're still safe because it's not a live alien. It's probably some old, million-year-old artifact that's no longer, we have to worry about the alien. So then we'll be able to still relax in our everyday lives knowing that aliens are real, but they're not here. And that will allow us for the next phase, which is open contact. But it has to happen that way, because if it happens anyway, but that everybody's going to panic. All my religious friends have already said the same thing. They're going to flip out. They're just going to flip out. I'm like, why? Well, it ain't God. Well, how you know God didn't say go down there and blow the freaking planet up? You don't know if God's over there talking to aliens or not. You don't know. They may have been.
Or I've heard that aliens are God.
Well, according to Monsignor Balducci, Father Monsignor Balducci, from the Vatican, he said that they're on a higher spiritual evolution than we are because they're so much older than we are. So it makes them closer to God than we are. That's his exact words. And then the astronomer from the Vatican came out and said the exact same thing. 5 years after that, one of the bishops came out and said the exact same thing. So the Vatican will not deny. If you ask them at the Vatican could directly do aliens, they will not deny it. They may not confirm it, but they will not deny it. But most of them today, when you talk to them, will say, yes, the Vatican is aware. And that's all they'll tell you, but they will say the Vatican's aware. And for people who don't believe, there's a whole entire section at the Vatican dedicated to extraterrestrials. Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's in the honeycomb.
Stop you here for a minute, Joe.
Who's pregnant? Wait, who got pregnant? I was hearing things. Okay.
No, I'm not. No. But I want to thank Carnation for being the sponsor of the second hour of the show and into the night. Thank you, Carnation.
Yes, and send me some damn cream, people. Y'all need to start making that sweet cream, or I'm gonna go find me a new sponsor for some sweet cream.
Don't go there; they'll lose it. No.
I like to pick on. I know the guy real well. I said you need to get some of this sweet cream.
So what do you think? What do you think? Like doing a little bit. I'm just like in kindergarten with the Anunnaki. I've seen some of the drawings on the stones, and to me, okay, I would think they had wings when they came down, but they had little round things on their ankles and around their stomachs. So, are the Anunnaki aliens that brought the word of God down to these kings?
Well, you know what bothers me about the Anunnakis? When you start doing cross research on them, you found different descriptions of what they look like.
Okay.
So is this something humans created? Because we're talking about the Sumerians and the Babylonians when we get into the Anunnakis. Or is it something that for some reason has the ability to transform? Most of the time when I hear people talk about the Anunnakis, they're talking about reptilians. Is what they're talking about. But some people, when they say Anunnakis, are actually talking about the Greys. And then, of course, some people are actually talking about the human type alien. So I get to the point with that where I'm like, okay, whatever y'all want to believe, I don't care. Obviously, it means alien is what I think. It just means alien.
Okay.
Which alien it is, I guess it depends, because we know the human aliens were the founders of Samaria. That's who
The human. Can you explain that to me,
human
please?
type aliens or aliens on average. They're about they're about 7.5 feet to 8 feet tall. They generally weigh in somewhere around 500 pounds. They look a lot like us. If you're looking straight on like this, they look just like us. They're same proportion. They're a little bigger across the shoulders, bigger through the chest, but their arms are the right length for their bodies. Their legs are the right big. They got 6 fingers, 6 toes. They do look a lot like us, except if you look at them sideways like this, their head goes about this much further back than ours do, and it's about this. And it's their heads are
Well, aren't
wider
they
like
called
this.
giants? Weren't they called giants?
No, not them. They were actually real giants. What they said David slew was upwards of 12 foot. That's a giant. Well, these guys are 7 or 8 feet. So for the little people back in the day, which averaged around 5'10", they were pretty. I mean, 4'10", were pretty big, but they were supposed to be bigger than that. The giants were supposed to be, or the Nephilim were supposed to be the children of God, and that were the children of God had interbred with the humans, and that's what created the Nephilim, or vice versa. I'm sorry. But all of this changes with a lot of different beliefs. People believe different ways, so they change the way they look at this. All I know for sure is the Sumerians did what they did, and then the reptilians intervened on behalf of us. They didn't like us being a slave race. Either they didn't like us being a slave race, or they just wanted to piss the human aliens off. Whichever one y'all want to believe, because it could be either one. But the reptilians do consider us family. It's one of the reasons they take males and females and do whatever they want sexually with them, because they consider us family. They have a hierarchy. So if you were abducted by, say, the blue reptilians with gills, then that's the family you're part of, and alpha male and alpha female has the right to take you, do what they want with you, and put you back. That's part of their right as being alphas.
Okay.
It's just part of society. But for the most part, they have one religion. They have great big library cities. People talk about these great dome cities underwater that you can put your hand on these balls and think, and whatever you think about will come up. They're huge, huge libraries. They talk about their home world, which is way out on the other side of the galaxy. It's not Draco. Draco is a colony, just like Earth is a colony. They're way further out than that. And they've when they talk, they don't talk like they've got 8 or 9 planets. They talk like they've got 100 or more. And they're an old race that's been around for a long, long time, and they've colonized a lot of places. And it's different for them because when you look at them, they have different colors. Some will be blue. So usually there's going to be green all in certain parts of the body, but chest patches, arm patches, thigh patches, calf patches, stuff like that will usually be a different color. They may be yellow, they may be green, they may be red, they may be orange. But the colors basically represent a family. Also, some will have wings, some will have gills. There's 9 or 10 different designs of them. Nobody knows if it was genetically done or if that's how they evolved on their planet, but they're all related. They're not disrelated. They're all related to each other. That's not saying every reptilian in the universe is related, but these are all related to each other.
Okay,
Same technologies.
So from doing the show with Jenny on into Chasing Prophecy, and I've been hearing that the Queen of England, she was reptilians. They were reptilians over there in England. But the way people talked about the reptilians with them, that they were a bad race. And I'm hearing you saying that the reptilians are a good race.
Well, no one said the reptilians were a bad race until the time of Christ. You can go look for yourself. There's 6,000 years of nothing but good talk about the reptilians. Okay. The only one even back in the day that thought they were a little bit off was the Sumerians. But even the Sumerians agree that they're not a hostile, mean, vicious race. That's not who they were. The Dogon have nothing but great things to say about the Numos. Even the Egyptians do. The Mesoamericans, whether it's the Aztecs, the Incans, the Mayans, the Toltecs, doesn't matter. They all talk good. Kublai Kai is the bringer of life, the bearer of goodness. And it's not the only one. I mean, so when you look at the Egyptians, the evil people were the humans. The reptilians were not, or the serpents were not. But the humans were evil. Same thing with Samaria, same thing with the Mesoamericans. The humans were the evil ones, and the reptilians were not. And actually, and most of the time, when they showed reptilians, a lot of times they showed them like flower-headed snake gods. I don't know what the hell that was.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's just a representation or whatever it may be. But Kublai is the sun god. So it's much more complicated. So not until the birth of Christ did we start seeing humans being talked about into a negative way.
Okay.
So you can look all before that, all you're going to see is good stuff. Even if it
Okay.
doesn't really matter where you look, even in Africa, you're going to just see good stuff. After that, you started seeing the reptilians were evil. Well, if that's true, that means all humans are evil. Because we all have a reptilian section in our brain, and we know that's not true.
This is quite interesting.
And if they're the ones that gave us sentience, not the human aliens didn't give us sentience, they made us a slave race. The reptilians gave us sentience. They're the ones that brought us to light. They're the ones that woke us up. They're the ones that gave us true life and extended our lives by simply interbreeding their DNA with ours.
Mm-hmm.
So really, who is the evil one? So it was a really good campaign after Christ was born to make the reptilians look bad, but it's just the Christians, went off, and, the Christians went on their crusades around the world, and anything that wasn't Christian was bad.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it went. And, it's not by Christians. I was a Christian. I'm not hating on y'all. It's just, it was part of the religion to convert. And when you were in the Mesoamerican world, those, of course, believed the reptilians were good, and y'all, of course, thought they were bad. Same thing in the Middle East. It was easy in Europe, but when you got in the Middle East, and then you got in South America, and you got into Africa, the world looked at things differently.
Right.
Different gods, different beings. And even today, it's still, I know, there's almost 2 billion Christians today, though, so.
I mean, that
billion Muslims, 2 billion Christians.
Well, you definitely did answer all my questions, and it was really, really nice to hear about. Because to me, you're one of the best.
But I seen Jenny on the spaceship the other night. She was blinking real weird. She was doing this like.
That's fun. You are an extraordinaire.
Well, I enjoy it, though. I mean, these days, it's not like when I first got in the field and I had to think 10 minutes. Somebody that said, you answer so matter of fact. I said, yeah, I've been doing this for 40 years. I said, of course I do. Mm-hmm. I said, but, when I started out, I did. And I still had to think about things, what was going on. A lot. And anytime we change stuff, I have to stop to think about it, because we do, believe it or not, people, as far as I know, ICAR is the only research organization that researches this stuff that changes its mind from time to time, or changes what it thought was true. I mean,
and how many is ICAR like MUFON, or is it more?
My ICAR currently has almost 100,000 members and close to, I think, 93,000 cases. By the way, when we say 93,000 cases, that's cases we consider real. We've had more cases than that. That's why we don't play when we talk to someone like MUFON or some other little rinky-dink organization. That I was talking to a STAR team member the other day, and she was telling me about her 5 cases. I started laughing. It's not funny. I said, 5 cases is a joke, sweetie. You cannot come to any conclusions with 5 cases. I said, you're just wasting your time. I said, you better get a lot more. You better get a lot more comparison studies done, because 5 cases is not going to bring you to the truth. Okay, because they're generally going to be different.
So cases. What are your typical cases that ICAR gets?
Well, usually we'll get a lot of people who will call us or write to us about, I've been having these reoccurring dreams. And they're usually about one type of alien or another. If they keep reoccurring after we tell them a couple of things, then it's a good chance they've been taken. So then the next question we ask them is, do you want to remember? Because once you let the genie out the bottle, the bitch ain't going back in the bottle. I'm just telling y'all, she ain't going back for nothing. You could choke her out, she's still not going back in that damn bottle. So once the genie's out, you have to deal with these emotions, these feelings, these memories. It's not something you can just go put away. They're there. So, and more of them are going to start flooding out. So it's always you got to be really careful when you use hypnosis. And you also got to make sure you close it. So when you do a hypnosis, it's fun. You do all your stuff. But make sure the hypnotist closes out. Because even I sometimes will forget to close it. And all that means is you'll just get more and more and more memories will keep coming, until finally your brain closes it on its own. So it's It's just so much to learn. And even for us, I mean, we probably know more about abductions than most of the groups put together on the planet. But even for us, we got a lot to learn. Every day, we're learning something new. It's like the blood type study. We had no idea about any of that. And it was for something else. It was to help us find contactees. That's what it was originally designed for, to see if aliens had a particular blood they would like so we could target people who were that blood type. Okay. We didn't really think, we thought it was going to be like O positive or A positive because that's the big ones on the planet, but that's not what it turned out to be.
It turned out to be the O negative, right?
Yeah, so about 65% of all abductees have Rh negative. Out of that, about half of those have O negative. So it tells you something. But what's really weird is about 55% of those contactees have green or blue eyes. So it shows you there's something about this mutation that's important to them. Or maybe I said that wrong. It's important to us.
Okay.
It's showing us something, you know. It's showing that there's a mutation in us that maybe down the line we'll be able to use for something other than just pretty eyes and a universal donor. Rh negative people are definitely different. Their personalities are different. Oh, yeah. Don't ask me why. It's not in my field, but you can go check it out for yourself. They're definitely a different kind of breed.
Huh.
Well, you know, when you look at humans, you know we're different. There's groups of different people on the planet. And we never really know because a lot of people says it's your astro sign that determines how you're different. And you know what? In some cases, that's true. I have found certain types of people fall into their sign, what their sign means fairly regularly. Not all, but a lot. You mean me? No, I was born on the cusp. No. I was born on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. Oh,
Are you talking to somebody on your computer?
Yeah, I got the messages up while we're talking.
Okay.
It's that is, you know what? Why don't you put your name and your name, not your address, your name and location? Clarice, well, yeah, Clarice, Los Angeles. I kind of thought that when I seen your name.
Okay, so
you want to say hi to Shawn? He's sexy, single too. He's single. You know, my job is to marry his ass off and let him have 4 or 5 more children before he bites the big one. Yeah, 5, 6. He's plenty young enough for 6 kids.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
You'd be like me with no hair afterwards, but still.
No, I got no hair. No, I'm working on it.
6 kids, you won't have none.
Hey, so thank you for talking all about the UFOs and the aliens. Now, the last half hour of the show, my friend, you're from New Orleans. Well, actually, you're from what? Mississippi, right? But
no, I'm from New Orleans. I'm from New Orleans. I live in Mississippi, but I'm from New Orleans. Yeah.
You're from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Tell us all about the shady stuff that happens down there. It was funny because before the show came on, I saw a thing on New Orleans vampires.
They have lots of those.
So
they have ghosts that pickpocket you.
Huh? They
got ghosts that pickpocket you. They'll pickpocket your wallet or your purse. The ghost will. Okay. I was just so a friend of mine was just on, acquaintance of mine was just on. They're doing a conference, I think, down in Florida. And we were talking about different things in the quarter and the Vucare and stuff like that. And we got to talking about these people who were talking about their wallets were getting lifted, but there was no one around. So the ghosty demons were lift. I don't know what the ghosties. I guess they were going to get a cocktail down the street or something. I don't know. But they were pickpocketing. I'd like to know where all them wallets and purses went. There's a big stash of money somewhere.
Wow.
I've heard it a few times.
I've never heard of that before.
More stuff I hear like when you walk in between the cathedral and where they used to sell the slaves and hang the slaves. You see a lot of different types of ghosts. So sometimes you might see some young women walking with them big Bella dresses, walking along, doing their thing, talking and giggling and cutting up. Sometimes you'll see soldiers. Sometimes you'll see people walking slaves. And what they've done is, so the cathedral's right here, they put a line of tables for these different clubs and bars and restaurants out there so that when you're sitting out there at 2, because, it's open 24 hours most of the time. So you'll be sitting out there at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning having a cocktail or having something to eat. No telling what you're going to see. And it's all around the cathedral, anywhere around the cathedral, because they did all kind of stuff. And then in the front of the cathedral is where the table rappers and readers are up in the front. There's a lot of tarot that gets read there at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So you can get your tarot cards read in front of St. Louis Cathedral in the French Quarter at 2 in the morning if you want to. That's an experience in itself. Well, yeah, because no telling what ghost is looking over your shoulder while you're getting your cards read.
Have you ever felt the presence of a ghost around you when you were
many times? The quarter is lots of people died in the quarter. So I tell people, if you really want to get the full experience, and you're one of those uptight people, have a couple of cocktails, then walk the quarter. No, don't get sloppy drunk or anything because you're going to miss the effect. No. The reason I say that, if you're like a paranormal person, you don't have to because your senses are already beyond. But for the average person who doesn't know how to get that, to grab that sense to look for something, usually if you get a light buzz, it'll come on by itself. And you'll start noticing things that you would not normally notice. And there's lots of stuff to notice down there. It's a freaky place. There's lots of scary stuff down there. So the rumor has it that the vampires like to walk around early in the morning and just grab people and suck some blood so they can catch a buzz. And they don't kill you or nothing. They just suck some blood and then they go on about their business. Yeah. You mean where they suck it at? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Anne Rice wrote about it. It's in one of her books. Yeah, it's in one of Anne Rice's. I'd have to ask Linda which one it is. She knows all her books, but no, that's what she wrote about, that they would walk around and they'd find a tourist or something and have a little sip. You know, they might be in some crack, they might be in some coke, they might be in some booze, whatever. Might be a combination. And they by drinking the blood, they catch the buzz.
But then again, oh my God, weren't they concerned about catching some type of disease?
Not vampires. Vampires can't die. They're already dead.
Do they exist, Joe?
Vampires? I'd hate to say no. I've seen some shit in the quarter. It makes me think somebody exists down there.
I know, but I mean, I've seen documentaries on vampires, especially down in New Orleans, and I know that they go to clubs and
they have vampire clubs. They have vampire ball. Anne Rice used to put on a vampire ball down here. No, she put on the whatchamacallit ball. The vampires put on the vampire ball. I forgot about that. I've had several vampires on the show. And some of them are, well, they think they're vampires.
Pretty interesting, huh?
They think they're vampires.
I don't know.
So a couple of times we had the vampire club on. Well, they all drink, but no, and none of them are real vampires. In this club, none of them are real vampires, but they think by doing all this, they'll become real vampires. Or they'll attract a real vampire to come bite them.
Okay. But
the best one is the necromancers. So the necromancers stole a bottle. So anyway, long story. I'm not going to get into all of it, but I own a maintenance company. So they used to have a necromancer house on Magazine Street. And I've been in there once or twice. One of my clients owned the place. And it always had this funky smell, like embalming fluid or something. So, and it was rooms I didn't want you to go in and stuff. And I was like, whatever. Never really crossed my mind because none of that shit scared me. So I never thought about it. Well, a couple of months later, it might have been a year later, another guy was in there and walked into this room. This girl is humping the corpse like there's no tomorrow. So necromancers believe if they have sex with a dead person, it gives them the power. It gives them power. They can pull power from hell. And sometimes if they have enough, it can even bring the demon into the thing they're having sex with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're serious about their stuff, guys. And they're weird, freako people. And but anyways, so the police came in, busted it, and was taking the body. And the guy's like, no. This body was donated to us by the person who was a necromancer for this specific use. And the cops took it anyway because it's against the law to have a corpse in Louisiana, period. No matter how you got it, it's just against the law to have it. So they sued the hell out the city because they couldn't have their sex magic no more. Whether it worked or not, I have no idea. They all were gothed out, purple, black, hair down to their ass, black. I didn't even like going in the place.
Okay.
I didn't want to be the next, dead corpse they were humping on. It's
it's me being up here in Pittsburgh, up north.
Because you're insane town.
I mean, yeah, I need to come down there, visit you, and just give me the New Orleans experience for a weekend, dude.
Well, they do regular tours down here. They're pretty good tour guides. I know Bloody Mary.
No, I want you as a tour guide.
I know, we'll go. But Bloody Mary, a friend of hers used to host the other Shawn?
Yeah.
Shawn
Graham.
knows James. James is a guy who used to pay for Shawn's stuff. They're friends with Bloody Mary, who runs the tour company down here
Mm-hmm.
for this kind of stuff. And now they want to do a swamp tour with the Gators and stuff, a haunted swamp tour.
No.
Because somebody was trying to talk me into giving them Marie Laveau's house in the swamp. I said, I don't know where her house is in the swamp. Oh, I've heard you talk about it. I said, well, even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you, but I don't know where it is.
Right.
I said, it's just a good story, people. Calm your asses down. But she's not buried in, I can tell you all this, she's not buried in cemetery 1 or 2. I can tell you all that. No, that's bullshit. Y'all can go put X's on her grave all day long. No, hundreds of people have done it. Yeah. Just don't try.
What was the whole reason for the X's?
Some kind of power thing or something. I forgot. It was good luck or I forgot. I used to know, but it's been so long now. It's and she used to own a shop right there where the right there on Rue Bourbon. But it always bothered me when people came down here. Oh, she's buried in a grave. Why would she? First off, she was a witch. Actually, she wasn't a witch. She's voodoo queen. She did most of her potions at her house in the swamp. She had a pretty decent sized mansion in the swamp. And she had quite a few kids that I guess people didn't realize she had. And, but that's where she went to make everything. Because, doing certain rituals and stuff, you were doing that in the city and you out there running around half naked, chopping off heads at roosters and shit. The neighbors ain't going to like that. They're going to frown on that stuff. And she was black, so it wasn't exactly safe, back then for her to be doing that kind of stuff in public.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. Now, here's my question to you. What is the difference between a witch and a voodoo queen?
Well, first off, witches usually don't do anything Christian. Some of them do, but most of them don't. Voodoo queens actually incorporate the Christian religion into it for some reason. You'll see like a statue of Christ on the altar. And I'm thinking, this is voodoo, but there'll be one there. There'll be lots of stuff like that. But voodoo comes from one of the Haitian islands. It was brought here with the slaves a long time ago. And it's supposed to be where the drug came from that turns you, that kills you but doesn't kill you, turns you into a zombie.
Makes you a zombie. Yeah.
It's a zombie drug. And by the way, don't think it's not people. It's a real drug. Oh, yes, it's a real drug. It was used quite a bit down there. That was brought here. There was a lot of stuff brought here. And there was a lot of stuff they brought here that was the illusion of badness, even though it wasn't necessarily bad, but you wouldn't know. Yeah, especially back then, the average person would have freaked out on most of the stuff.
Okay.
If I seen Marie Laveau jump out of coffin and start, no, I think I'd leave. I'd say, hey, Marie, I know some of your relatives, but I'm out of here. Bye.
But were they permanently zombies or?
No, they could be, but most of the time it was just, so this started a thing, because what they used to do to punish you over there was they would give you the drug, put you in a coffin and bury you alive. And then you would wake up, the drug would wear off and you'd wake up and you'd be buried alive. Yeah, they were not the best people to piss off.
So so we know about voodoo, how they're with the Catholics. Now you got
not all of them, just some of them. Yeah, you got hoodoo and voodoo. They're all just versions of each other. It's hoodoo came out. I don't know why exactly hoodoo came out. I remember somebody told me why a while back. I was talking to one of the priestess that was on the show, and she was telling me why. But they just, each one has their own specific thing they do, and they don't. And by the way, not all the voodoo people have the Christian stuff tied in, but a lot do, and a lot of them are just hardcore voodoo that are praying to these weird gods you've never heard of, because they're not in any American folklore or anything. They're from the country they came from. And a lot of this stuff sounds pretty spooky, pretty wicked. And of course they believe in, the voodoo doll. Let me take a piece of hair or some of your blood and make the voodoo doll. A lot of people swear by the voodoo doll.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If somebody makes a voodoo doll of me, I'm going to shoot him in the head. See how well that voodoo stops that bullet. Yeah. One girl said, well, I voodoo you. And I said, yeah, you will, right as that gun goes plunk. And you go, no matter what you're doing after that, is it? She just looked at me like, you're serious. And I said, you voodoo my ass, I'm shooting you. I said, I'll be able to get enough muster up to shoot somebody.
So down there in New Orleans, a lot of people who live down there or who reside down in New Orleans really are okay with the voodoo and the hoodoo.
Yeah, it's just part of the city.
Because up where I'm at, man, you mentioned voodoo, you mentioned hoodoo. It's the devil shit, and you're going to hell, and it's all freaking scary. And I'm thinking, no, it can't be. You know, it can't be. And that's the way I look at it. I mean, I don't,
It's well, people just want to make it scarier than it is. I'll get back in my ear thing. What's that, Jack? No, I mean, and some of it can be scary, but I think for the most part, that's what it's about. It's about scare and control through fear. And I think that's really what most of that's about. It's just about control through fear by scaring you enough that you do what they ask you to do or showing you stuff. Because, I mean, if somebody turned you into a zombie and buried you alive and left you there for a day and then come and dug you up, I think you'd do whatever they asked you to do. So it wouldn't happen again. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that is reinforces stuff. Or when they do that and you see someone dead and then the next day you see them alive again, or you see them in a half of a trance walking around somewhere all stoned out white and stuff. It looks like a zombie. I mean, certain things they did was they had a pretty good understanding of different types of drugs. That's one thing I can give Voodoo credit for. They had a pretty good understanding of what drugs did what. Well, I imagine they tried putting them on people. I mean, that's just how you find out the hard way. It's
what's it like in Mississippi with ghosts and voodoo, and
well, there ain't no voodoo around where I live. See, the South is weird. So where I live, both in New Orleans and here, is what they consider the Gulf South. So it's a little bit different. We consider ourselves one state, all the way from about Houston, Texas, all the way down to about Tampa. We really just consider that one state. It's all pretty much the same. It's a Gulf Coast. Everybody pretty much acts the same, lives the same. But the majority of people living there are usually not going to be from the state it's there. So like in Mississippi along the Gulf Coast, the majority of people here are not from Mississippi. About a third of them are. The casinos bring a lot more different people down here. Same thing in New Orleans since Katrina, about only about half the population's native. And you see that along the Gulf. So it makes, first off, it's a much bigger mix of people. So there's less chances for racism and stuff like that. People are less likely to do that kind of stuff. There's a lot more money along those areas. So there's better jobs. So it's a different place. Now, you get to Mississippi from Jackson up. I don't care what color you are. Don't stop in any small towns unless it's a tourist town. Because if you do, they're going to mess with you. They're going to be like, who are you? What are you doing in my town?
Really?
They don't care what color you are. You come down there and you said you were from Pennsylvania, you're going to spend a night in jail probably. It's or they're going to search your car or something. They're funny, man.
Really?
So yeah, so if it's a little town, it's their town, not yours. Now there are some towns, we call them tourist towns, where they've set it up where you can eat and spend the night and stuff. Those are tourist towns for tourists who from the coast or wherever who want to go riding around through the state. That's fine. All the rest of them little towns, not even little towns, Jackson. So Jackson, Mississippi is the capital. It's in between. It's 3 hours from New Orleans, 3 hours from Memphis. It's kind of screwed. So you want to go party, you go to New Orleans, you go to Memphis. Why you want to go to Jackson? Jackson's 70% black. Even the black people don't want to be there. They want to be somewhere else. They said the town's extremely racist. Even though they control the town, it's still extremely racist. And then the towns around it, if you're not from those towns, they're going to ask you, what are you doing here? Matter of fact, I always tell people when you're driving through and you're not familiar, stop off an interstate. Don't go wandering through somebody's little town because you're going to probably get stopped. They're going to say, what are you doing here? I mean, come on. I was driving through Texas and I got stopped because I had New York plates.
Okay.
Got stopped and searched, people, because I had New York plates. And it was weird because when I told the cop, he's bullshitting me going on and told me why he stopped, blah, blah, blah. And he started searching my car. I said, you know I'm from New Orleans, right? I'm not from New York. And he looked at me like, wait, what? I said, yeah, why are you looking at my license? This is a rental. And after that, he wanted to change his idea, but he'd already started what he was doing. So I was like, but no, man, they see them yellow tags. Boy, if you're coming from somewhere out west or Colorado and you're driving foreign tags, ooh, they going to stop you, especially like Wichita, Texas. They're going to stop you. They don't care. They'll come up with an excuse. They'll say, oh, well, you were doing 76 and a 75, even though they know that wouldn't hold up in court. They use it as an excuse. They write a warning ticket. So if there's nothing in your car, they'll just write you a warning ticket saying, you were speeding. No, actually, I wasn't. But you don't want to argue with a bunch of rednecks in the middle of Texas because you're going to go to jail.
Yeah, or else get killed.
Yeah, well, they probably won't kill you. Wichita's a little bit bigger, but Amarillo, places like that, these are big towns. But still, they don't like people who are not Texans. And they can tell you're not Texan because you don't talk like a Texan.
Right.
Well, I'm from New Orleans, so it's a little bit different. They can tell.
Oh hell, I'm from
So
Pittsburgh, and we have our own accent up
they're
here.
going to be
So.
going. We're going to send these Yankees to the grave. Actually, for some reason, they don't consider Pittsburgh Yankees. I don't know why.
What?
They don't. I don't know why. They do consider Philadelphia and anybody who lives in
I
New
will tell
York
you,
or
why,
New
my friend.
Jersey.
I will tell you why, and I believe this with my whole heart. And people will fight me tooth and nail for this, but Pittsburgh is actually the gateway to the Midwest.
And maybe that's what it is because I mean they don't really do now. They do
I'm
consider them
serious.
freaking Chicagians. You know, really, Chicagians aren't considered Yankees either. They're just considered asshole Chicagians, is what they're. No, really, that's how they look at them. Ohio, they consider Ohio part of the South. Matter of fact, we're even bringing Ohio into SEC football. Yeah, so we consider them.
What? Which one? State? Not Ohio
No,
State.
no, I don't think it's. I can't remember now, but they're bringing one of them in there, and it might be the Buckeyes.
No, I don't think so. Big
There's
Ten
one of them
owns
going.
them.
Yeah. Oh no,
Wow.
Big Ten's got its foot shot off just recently. It's not just they're in trouble. Big 12's in trouble too, and they're also asking how come they don't change the name because that's not how many teams are in them anymore.
Oh, I read that. I read that. It's
Yeah,
all
they
about
were.
the money and shit, man. And it's like, look what happened to the ACC. You got Clemson and Florida State heading down to the SEC.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. See, what's going to end up happening is the SEC is just going to become its own league all by its little lonely self. Because as it is, the only team that's even given any trouble was Ohio and what's the red team?
Nebraska.
No, it's not Nebraska. Even though Nebraska's in it a lot, but they just don't get to the championship.
No, they suck.
Man, I can't remember who it was. It's a fairly well known team. Is it Kansas? I don't know. I'd have to go look and see, but that's only giving the SEC any trouble, and it's either Alabama or LSU usually. Now Georgia's getting in the hunt, so now you got to come down here. So you're going to come down here as a team to get in the SEC, and we're not going to have the South and the West anymore. We're just going to have the SEC, and you're going to have to play yourself through this in order to get into the playoffs. And what's not going to be fair for the SEC is the rest of the country is going to have an easy. If you're a really good team, you'll probably rule your league. Down here. It's not going to be like that.
Right.
Just Georgia, LSU, and Alabama alone is going to be a freaking nightmare, man. But they're going to make really good games, and the NFL loves it because the NFL has been having a lot of problem recruiting players. That's mainly because almost all the elementary schools in the United States have done away with football now, and a lot of the high schools are doing away with it. Well, one, you got to have two insurances to play. A lot of families can't afford to put two insurances on their kid, and but so they're doing. And a lot of them don't want the contact in their school sports anymore. So they're just doing.
Joe, what's going on with this world?
I don't know, but don't get me wrong. I know you can get a little hurt. I played football, so I know you can get a little hurt. But come on, you got to learn how to deal with people, and life is not going to be that easy. And America. I hate to say this to y'all, and y'all keep forgetting this. You think when you look at our country and you look at our population, you think the whole world's like that. This is not true. China and Russia hate us, and if they can take us over, they will. There's other countries on this planet that hate us too, like North Korea and some of the Middle Eastern countries. Y'all need to wake the hell up. I mean, we got China and Russia running up and down our Atlantic coast like it's nothing, and through the Chinese Sea. And Biden's over there got his finger up. Well, I can't even say where he's got his finger at, but and he's sniffing it. So I mean, the boy's just messed up. At least with Trump. See, when Trump was president, no, before anybody asks, I'm not a Trump fan, and I didn't vote for him. But at least when he was president, Kim Jong-un went and hid in his corner, and his sister had to take over. Xi Jinping didn't say a word, and Putin I don't know what Putin was doing. You didn't hear from him either because Trump is dangerous. He wouldn't put up with this. He would have already told China, you better get your ass out of the South China Sea, or we're going to start building down there like you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
He already told them, stay away from our country or we will blow up your ships if they get in our water. So it's a different time. Biden has not even said anything about any of this. He hasn't even gotten outraged. Even the media hasn't. Your media people, NBC, ABC, CBS, has not talked about the Russians or Chinese or what they've been doing for the last year. Not even once. They're covering up for them. And you're listening to these people. You don't take my word for it. You can do a European search or a global search, and you'll find that everything I just said is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
I can't account for the American media, but there are medias on this planet that are not Americans and don't have a problem saying what's going on.
Yeah, I saw that in the news today from somewhere, I think Australia, an Australian news down there, saying that China and Russian ships are going up and down the west coast, up around
But see
Alaska.
what I don't understand, people. Somebody's like the Navy's not getting that fast. We don't need the Navy for this.
No,
We got
no,
jets all over Alaska and all over the West Coast. We could send them over there in a heartbeat.
hmm
We don't need to be shipping ships. So, see, and China and Russia must have forgot that. Getting that close to our shores when we got ships and planes all over the place is dangerous because we won't go wasting a ship on you. We'll send $1 billion jet out there to kill all of y'all, and if you kill it, it's $1 billion jet. It's not a $50 billion ship.
right.
No, I don't think China and Russia have anything that can take on our aircraft carriers. I know China. Oh, we got these new missiles. They're aircraft killers. And then, so China was out testing one somewhere, and it did blow up the Mach carrier they had, but we also put something at the same speed with the same impact, and the failings took it out like it was nothing, like it was nothing. And
Wow.
now we've got hypersonic knockdown missiles aboard our ships. I'm not, I'm not really worried about them so much that way. And besides this, blowing up anything in the United States is risking us using nukes.
Yeah, it's true.
We're not,
So,
well, now that we know Elon is willing to use his satellites to knock their nukes out of the atmosphere, we're not as worried about it as we used to be.
well,
So,
my son, is going over to China in September.
no, right now it's
Uh,
safe for the United people in the United States. I mean, there's arguments with our governments, but it's safe for the people.
it's for the company that he works for, and they're sending him over, you know, because the main company's in China, and they're sending him over to see how they work over there to bring it back, you know,
Well,
to
they got a company right now coming over to work with Ford to help them maximize making electric batteries. So I mean, our companies aren't enemies. We got to watch stealing intellectual properties, but right now the big problem is China and Russia. They don't want to play nice. We don't want to play nice. China wants to be the new world power, and if Joe Biden stays president, they will be. So
hmm
this to prove a point to y'all. While Obama was president, China went from 3 trillion to $12 trillion. That's what their thing was. So it was growing pretty good. When Trump took over, they actually went down $2 trillion and have not been able to come up since. Now that Trump's gone, they're starting to make their way back up again. So liberals don't care, people. They don't care about you. They don't care about their country. They've never been about protecting the United States ever. They don't really care about the citizens. And y'all don't have to take my word for it because look at what's going on with China. No self-respecting Republican president would let that happen. We'd have already put a stop to this. Look what was going on with the South China Sea when Trump was thing. Trump said, "Yeah, take a shot at it, see what happens." China pulled back all of its stuff. Biden's in there expanding because Biden's a coward and he's bought and paid for. I have no doubt that Biden is bought and paid for by the Chinese. What I don't understand is why Congress hasn't asked him to take a polygraph. Put him on
come
a
on,
spot. I would put
he
him on a
would have
spot.
to go. He would have to go through permission from the FBI, CIA, NCIS.
You don't have to go out to appreciate anybody. You just say, yes, I'm president of the United States. I do what the hell I want.
I don't know. I just
It's like one of these things, somebody's asked me yesterday, or is Trump going to try to get these out fast, or is he going to wait till after he's elected? He has two options. He can stretch this out past the election, and if he wins, you can't indict a sitting president. And by the time he's out of president, the statute of limitations, all this shit would be gone. So that's one way of doing it. Or if he thinks he can win, or he can tie it up in the Supreme Court, then it'll be gone when he becomes president.
okay.
So
Well, here's
it doesn't
my
matter
thing.
what happens. Is understand this, people. Now it doesn't matter how guilty they find Trump. In the end, everything we're talking about here will go in front of the Supreme Court, and they will overturn it. So in the long run, you're not going to get Trump. This is just a distraction so that Joe Biden has a chance because his numbers are so low right now. He doesn't have a prayer in hell of winning. He
Okay.
cannot beat. And what I don't understand, this tells you something too. So Trump was trailing behind Joe by 20 points, just like he was with Hillary until they started with the Russian stuff, and then he passed Hillary up. So the first set of indictments come out in New York. He was 30 points behind Biden. It brought him up almost 12 points.
hmm
Okay. Second set of indictments come out. brings him up another 12 points. The third set that just came out, so you got to understand he's been indicted 3 times for over 70 different things. Right now, he is neck and neck, which means that not only are Republicans voting, but independents have to be siding with him.
Okay, and then just think he's still got all that crap going down in Georgia next week, trying to get him on racketeering. Come on,
Yeah.
that Caesar's pulling shit out of her butt.
So if I was him and I won, I would go after every individual, because all of this is politically motivated. Most of this is not true. The stuff in New York I read, most of it's out of date, so I don't even know it's being tried. And secondly, none of it has anything to do with anything. That's what the I hate to say it, the stupid mayor of New York said. Well, wait a minute. If they're arresting Trump, shouldn't they be arresting Hillary and Clinton? Because Clinton paid off 5 different women.
Yeah.
And he got caught doing it with campaign funds, but we're not talking about him. We're not talking about Hillary using a dossier to go to fake a president out to try to win an election. That's big time illegal. I mean, but it's because they're liberals and he's a Republican.
Right. But listen, it is time for us to go. It's time for me to go. Joe, thank you for being on tonight. I learned a lot. Hang around after the show. Go chat a little bit. And everybody, thank you very much for, Jenny, Michael, everybody for participating in the chat. We will see you next Tuesday, same time, same station on UPRN Talk Radio 105.3 New Orleans. And hold on a second. And 107.7 Mississippi. So everybody, good night.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. uprntalkradio.com.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.